everyone, and welcome to my Unreal Engine 4 tutorial series on how to make an inventory system. Last time we left off with this thing, so we toggle an off and the inventory is spawning on the right side, and also inventory has 4 slots. But if you pick this item, first inspect it, close that up, and if you now toggle, the inventory has 2 more slots, so 10 slots. So in this tutorial we're gonna learn a simple thing. Just add an inventory item towards your inventory, right? And some of my subscribers have suggested to use some meaningful icons, so I'm just gonna do that. So I'm just gonna make a new folder in your item folder, and I'm just gonna call it textures. Open that up, and I'm just gonna import the textures. So this one, and this one, I think this 4 looks good. So open that up, and by clicking this all 4, just right click and you're gonna see this asset actions and bulk via property matrix. So if you click on this level of detail, just set this texture group to UI because we only want to use this in your UI, and the compression would be UI, the user interface 2D, and hit save and close that up. So we have done this thing, and let's name this to a proper. So the bottle would be let's say my herb would be fine. This bottle would be a water. This stone would be my let's say a scope. I'm just naming this. You can do that to whatever you want. So we have done a herb, a water, a scope, these 3 things, and a random icon. I will gonna do that later. So the herb icon would be open that up, and the inventory icon, the herb icon would be your herb icon. This one, it compile and say we have done this thing. Item need would be your herb for your herb. This is a herb, so this is a herb. So the herb can be added, yes, it can be added, and the item class of the herb will be your herb, and is stackable. So yes, this item is stackable, and let's say it stack up to 3 slots. So each slot contains 3 herbs, and if you have 4 herbs, then you have 2 slots of your herb. First slot has 3 herb, and second slot has 1 herb. Simple. So on your item herb we have done this thing. Same thing for your, okay, we don't need anything else because the herb is the only thing we want to add. And yes, we also want to add this scope. So this would be your scope, and this is a scope. It can be added, yes, the scope can be added, and the icon of the scope would be the scope, the stone icon, the ruby icon. And the scope is not stackable, so if you have 2 scopes, then it will be a separate. So if it's not stackable, then you don't have to set this to anything, it doesn't matter. So we have done this thing. So let's, for the main part, open your inventory component, and you can see we have done these 3 things: the inventory, add to inventory, create stack, and the adds to stack, and one has partial stack. So let's do that. So let's further do that. So what we're gonna do, first we're gonna edit this has partial stack. So this input has 2 inputs. First is a execute node, so I'm just gonna add this to input, and this would be a exec, the execute pin, and the output would be 1 is true. So if it has a partial stack, then it will gonna return a true part, right? And if it's not has a partial stack, then it will gonna return a false part. And we need another input called slot index, and this would be a integer. And click on this up icon to move it up in between this. So if it's true, if we have a slot of, if we have a partial stack, then it will gonna get that slot index. So let's say this slot has a partial stack, then it will gonna get that index from that. So the input would be your slot, and the type would be a slot structure. Hit compile, save. So we have done this thing. After that, grab this node of this slot and hit break. And if you break, right click and split out, you can break this again. So what we gonna do? So first we gonna do is grab that inventory, where this one, and for this inventory, if you click on this and hit a for loop, you can find this. We need this. Grab this a little bit back, and input mode will go to this exact node, and right click on this array element to split out. You can also break by dragging up, so just split it out like this, so it will look something like this. Okay, make a room something here. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to check. So hit branch, and what do we want to check is if our inventory's item class is equal to the current item class we have. So yes, we want to check first this, and also the array element of quantity. If the quantity is less than, make sure it is less than the quantity of the maximum stack size. So the maximum stack size in here, attach it to it. If it's both condition will satisfy, so AND boolean. So the what is this AND boolean do? If it's both are true, then and then this will gonna return true, otherwise false. If it's this both will satisfy, then and then it will gonna return true, like. And the return part, what we want to do, we want to assign. So you're gonna see this assign, and these two are the wildcards. So it will change whatever the values assigned to it. So the variable would be your local integer, yep, the local integer. So we want to assign this to local, because in the macro you cannot add local variables. So rather than that, we're gonna add a local type of the variable, integer or whatever, and the value should be your array index. So grab that node and hit to your array index. So value would be this, right? And after that, what we want to do, we want to also assign this one to your boolean. So delete this one, because we need a local boolean and assign this one. So right click and search for a local boolean, and we want to assign that. So assign. So you're gonna find a node like this, and attach it to here. So if it's true, hit branch. Oh, pardon. Okay, so if it's true, then and then we're gonna add it to true part. So there, let's say if it's true, then yes, we have the partial stack, and if it false, then yes, it don't have the partial stack. And if we have the partial stack, then the index would be this one, the local integer, this one. And where do we want to attach this one? So we want to attach this one to the completed node, and yes, we have made a mistake. Okay, grab this inventory and for each loop with break, because we don't want to use the iteration every time, and just holding down the control key and you can add this one to here. So if you hold down the control key, you can just swap these nodes, and the loop body would be go to here, the class would be go to, sorry, the for the class we want to split out this structure pin, so split it out once and split it out once more. So the class would be go to this class, and the array element quantity would be go to this array element quantity, right? And the array index would be go to this array index. So we have done this, all this thing, delete that up, because we need a for each loop with break. Make sure you do that, otherwise it will gonna iterate to every time. And yep, the boolean value would be true if we find the correct value. So if it's true, then we want to break this. So get this node from here and attach it to break, this break one, and double click on this node to add a reroute node and attach it to here. So make this a bit more clean. Hit compile, save. So we have done this part. So it will gonna check if we have a partial stack or not. So how do you gonna do that? So let's go to your function of add to inventory, just holding down the alt key, and if you click on this node, it will gonna break these two lines. The add to inventory has an input of structure. So let's say slot structure, slot, or let's add it a meaningful name called items to add. So items to add, right? And it will be a slot structure. So I'm just gonna break out. You can also do this right click and splitting out this thing. If you right click on this, you can split out, or you can also break this. This both works fine. So just grab a node and hit a branch and split out this one. So first thing we're gonna do is if item is stackable or not. So if it's stackable, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna check if it has a partial stack or not. So grab this macro and put it here. So on your input side, the slot would be your item slot. So this one, attach it to your input items to add. So if it has a partial stack, then what we want to do, if it's true, then we want to add it to your inventory. Otherwise no, otherwise we want to create a new stack. So what we're gonna do, we want to add to stack. So if it has a partial stack, then what we want to add to stack. If it's not has the partial stack, then we want to create a stack and we want to add to the new stack. So create a stack. So we have made these two functions in previous lectures. So if it has, then we want to add this, otherwise not. And after that, what we want to do, we want to make this to a, promote this one to a local variable, because this would depend on the success part of it. Because if your inventory is full, if all the slots are occupied by an item, then this function won't gonna happen to all of it. So the item won't be destroyed. So this is why we need a boolean, but we don't want to share it with all our functions. So this is why we have need a local variable. So I'm just gonna promote this success part to a local variable, and I'm gonna call it is success. Right? So hit compile and save. And the success part would depend on this two. So on the create, we want a return node. So the return value of this create, so click on this create stack and get an output, and the type of this return value would be success. Right? Hit compile and save. Same with the add to stack function, hit an output, and this would be also a success. Hit compile and save, and go back to your add to inventory function and grab your is success function and attach it to here. So the success function, the success boolean variable will update based on your this add to inventory function. So if you cannot create a stack, then it will gonna return a false, and it will gonna add the exact pin to here. And if you cannot add to a stack, because if you, let's say your inventory is full, then this both would be return false, then the add to inventory function would be false, so both attach it to here. So we have done this thing, the add to inventory part. Okay, and let's now create move on to this create stack part, because it's easy thing. So move on this create stack part. So what we're gonna do, so first things first, we need an input of this create stack, and the input would be slot, and the type would be a slot structure. Hit compile and save and break these nodes. So this is our create stack function. What we're gonna do is, for each loop with break, make sure you do with break, because we don't want to use iteration for every single time. If we find our desired element, then we just want to break it. So grab your inventory, get your inventory, and attach this array to your array, this one. Now we want to check. So what we want to check is, just right click and split out this array element. So if our quantity is less than or equal to 0, then we want to do the create stack function, right? So first we want to check if our quantity is less than 0 or not. If it's true, then what we want to do, we want to make a local variable called a has space, because let's say if your array is full, your array slots is full, then it don't have space to create a new stack, then this would be return false. So if it's written true, then first we're gonna set a boolean to has space of true. After that, what we want to do, we want to set the index, this one, and promote this to a variable of local variable, not variable, the local variable, because we don't want to share these variables with any other functions. And I'm just gonna call it an empty index. Hit compile, save. This empty index would go here, and make a reroute node by double clicking this node to add a reroute node. So make this a bit more clean, and I'm just gonna right click and straight this out so it looks more nice. So if it has empty index, then yes, we want to break this, because we found our first empty index slots. Then we want to break this loop, because we don't want to waste our iterations. So just break that and double click on this white node, so add a reroute node. And make this so it looks a bit more clean. Hit compile, save, and after the completion of function, we want to check by adding a branch. So grab this has space node, the has space boolean, and the has space means yes, we have found our empty space slot and we want to add our item to it. So if we found our empty space slot, then what we want to do, we want to set the array element of that empty space to our item. So the array would be your inventory array. So get this inventory and attach it to your target array. So we want to, where do we want to set our arrayment? In this inventory array, and the index would be your empty index, and the items would be this one, this slots. So how do you gonna do that? So grab, right click and get slot. So you can get the slot, and these slots are this one, this slot input. So you can right click and get the slots, and if you click and attach it, you can attach it to here. So we want to attach the current value inside here. Yep. And after that, what we want to do, we want to add the return value of this to here, and the return value would be your hash space. If it falls, then we want to return none. So if it falls, then yes, we cannot find our empty stack, so it cannot be added, so it returns false. So on the inventory, this one, so let's try this out. So if you have remembered, our stack of this scope is not stackable, so it will gonna follow the create stack part, and it will gonna add it to our inventory. So let's test this out, the create stack part. So right now we have empty index. If you go and if you pick up this one, you can inspect it first, close that up, and okay, what is the problem? Let's test this out. Okay, so open your master object, and it can be added. Yep, yes. We want, what we want to add, we want to add the items. So the items would be your item structure. So get this item structure, and we want to add this. So make the slot structure. The item we want to add is this, the item structure, and the quantity we want to add is 1. So we want to add 1 every time. Just close that up, and let's check this out if it's working or not. So right now I don't have any, but first this, okay. Let me open my scope, and where do we messed up? Yes, the scope can be added. The scope is not stackable. Yes, we have done all these things, then it should work. Okay, so the master object, okay, so add to inventory is success, and the success would be go to your create. Yep, this one, the slot I want to add in here would be your this slot, the items to add. So attach it to where we have messed this thing. Hit compile and save, and we have done all the, and this might should work now. Okay, this all the debugging thing, so just checking every code. Okay, this is not working still. Okay, pardon. Okay, so the add to inventory function, if item is not stackable, yes, yep, this one, then we want to create a stack. So hit compile. So if it falls, then and then we want to create a stack, and if it's not stackable, then also we want to create a stack, right? And let's check it out. Now, right now I don't have any items. If I pick this up, then I want to inspect it, and this is destroyed. If I tab, then one item is added to our inventory. So yep, the non-stackable items are added to our inventory, so it is working. Let's check it again. So right now I don't have any item, so open this up and it is added. Let's create a new item. So I'm just gonna duplicate this one. So there are two scopes now. So there are 0 elements in our inventory. If I grab this scope if I close this, we have added a one slot in our scope 1, and the next scope if I add, it is not stackable, so it will gonna add to our new slots, right? So if I add this one first, I'm gonna inspect it, close that up, and it is added to a new slot. You can see that. So the non-stackable items are working fine. So let's jump down from the stackable items. So for the stackable item, what we want to do, first we want to add to stack. So for the add to stack, what we want to do, we want to create the stack function, and then we want to add it. To open this add to stack function, and for the add to stack function, just remove that. We need inputs. First input would be your slot, so obviously slot. The second input would be your index, and this would be your integer. Hit compile and save, and go back to your add to inventory. So you have these two. So the slot would be your the items to add. So this one, the items to add, you can attach it to here, or you can just get items to add, and you can find the input of this function. And the index would be your the has partial index, this one. Hit compile and save, and let's get back to add to stack function. So for the add to stack function, what we want to do, first we want to break this. So break this slot. So we have item structure and we have a quantity. We don't need this item structure, we need a quantity. And for this index, what we want to do, we want to get an inventory and get a copy, not a reference, copy. Make sure you get a copy. And the index would be your this index, and right click to split it out. If you split it out again, it will look something like this. So after that, get this quantity and promote it to a local variable. Again, we want to promote it to local variable because we don't want to share these variables with other functions. So I'm gonna call this local variable to current quantity, and I'm just gonna attach it to here. So it will gonna first check what are the current quantity have in our stack, and if our current quantity is less than our maximum stack size, then we want to add this to our stack. Otherwise we want to create a new stack for it. So how are you gonna do that? So let's add plus integer. So our current quantity and the quantity we want to add to our slot. Obviously the quantity we want to add is +1 because we have added +1. But if you want to add, let's say there is an item, so if you pick up that item, then it will add 2 times of it. Then you can just do that by grabbing a node from the item. I will gonna show you. So do this plus and plus, and if this one is greater than the maximum stack size, so get the maximum stack size here, this one, and if it's true, then we want to do a next part, the add creating a stack. But if it falls, then yes, we want to adding to this stack. So how do you gonna do that? So for the true part and for the false part, so let's say first we want to do for the true part, to set array element. The array want to just grab a node from this and get inventory. So the array is also obviously this inventory, this one. The index we want to add is the slot index, so not this one, the index. What have we named? This one, this index. So get index, yep, the input of our function, add to stack functions input. The items we want to add, is, so get slot, yes, and right click to split it out. So the items we want to add is this slot items, right? But where do we want to add? So right click on this item to split it out. So the items is this, and the quantity we want to add, just make a room for this, pardon, and the quantity we want to add is, grab another node from this item structure and break out and get the maximum stack size. Yes, because we want to add this to our maximum stack size because it's full, right? And this is all. So if you click on this, you can just hide the uncombined field so it looks more good. So we have done this thing. After adding, so what we want to do, get this maximum and minus it. So integer minus integer, and what we want to minus it, so we want to minus to our current quantity. So current quantity, the local boolean we have just made, right? After doing this minus part, because we have minus this thing, just get the slot and right click to split it out, get, and we want to minus this one with our inventory because we want to add the rest of the part. So again use minus. After that, this one, what we want to do, we want to add this one to your inventory. So right click and add to inventory. So this will gonna recursively call the function again. Right? So we have done this part. Oh, okay. Hit compile and 7. Let me just see this to my previous, because I forgot it a little bit. This one, the add to, yes. So this one, add to inventory. So we have add to inventory, and add to inventory has okay. Right. So we have done this thing. All good. So on your add to stack function, if you just right click on this, you can split it out, and you want to add the item and you want to add to inventory. So I'm just want to add this to our inventory, and the item would be nothing, right? And after that, just I want to just return this node. Hit compile and save. So we have done this thing. Now for the false part. So if it falls, then what we want to do, we want to set the array element. Obviously the array will be get the inventory. The array would be this. The index would be get a copy, not a reference. Make sure get a copy. And the index would be get slot, the slot, not this one. We have named this to index, right? You have to set this. So get the index, the input of your function, get index, the variable you just named. So right click on this item to split it out. The items we want to add is this one. So right click and split it out, this one. So item this one want to add is this, and what the items we want to add. So quantity plus plus the items of our slots currently have. So get your slot, split it out, and add this to your quantity. So we want to add the rest of the item to your next one, to attach it to your item quantity, and the index would be your this index. After that, attach this line to this one, the return node, and the return should be returned true. To me, just take this out to success is true. Hit compile, save. We have done this thing. So let's check it out. So we have made our herb to stackable, right? So I'm just gonna click on this. So we have 4 herbs. Let's check it out. So we have 4 herbs. So first we're gonna inspect this herb, and if you click on this, it is not adding. Let me just see why this is not adding. Okay, so the problem was inside the has partial stack function. We haven't attached this branch with this completed. So just attach it to your after completing this node, and it would be work fine. Hit play. So right now I don't have anything, but if we use this, you can inspect it, and you can see we have added 1 item. So right now I don't have this, but if I inspect this, you can see I have added 2, then again 3, and the maximum slot size has reached it. So the next herb would be added to a new slot. So if I close this, this is our new herb. So if I now inspect it, this would be destroyed, and this would be added to our new slot. So 3 for each slot, then this one. So we have done these things. So thank you so much guys for watching, and bye bye. On the next episode we're gonna learn how do you gonna make the item actions, the inventory actions. So this is all for it now. So thank you and bye bye.